So it gives me great pleasure to welcome you today to the ribbon cutting and dedication of the Auerbach Berger family's Cybersecurity Laboratory, immediately to my right and elsewhere. I'm David Pensky. That's my name tag says. I am the founding dean of Drexel's College of Computing and Informatics, and a proud partner in the Drexel University Cybersecurity Institute. The Institute itself is truly multi-college and truly interdisciplinary, and to prove that, I'm going to weave in Rob DeVideo here, who is one of our Rob is a specialist in criminal justice and criminal forensics, and he's in the College of Arts and Sciences in the Culture and Communications Department, and is one of the founding faculty members who do a lot of work coming out of this new space. So it's real. This multi-college and interdisciplinary stuff is real. In launching the Cybersecurity Institute only 3 months ago, we as a university made an important kind of commitment to fostering the next generation of professionals needed to protect critical U.S. resources and cyber attacks. It was interesting, John, after lunch, we were going around the table, and I won't name names, but many of the people at the table had been hacked more than once. And so it makes it up front, close and personal, right? This laboratory will not only be for the university's first training facility dedicated to identifying the challenges and discovering solutions in the area of cyber infrastructure protection and incident response. It will also allow researchers, cybersecurity professionals, and students to gain hands-on experience in protection, defense, and attack operations without disturbing real-world networks. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm equally interested in attack and defense, and it drives people like Larry a little crazy sometimes. But I actually think one is the other side of the other, and so you have to be able to do one if you want to be able to do the other. The physical environment of the Cybersecurity Laboratory and its resources would not have been possible without the generous support of Carol Auerbach and Al Berger. Here to my left, Carol, hands up, Al. Now you might know that that I'm also the Isaac Auerbach Professor of Information Studies. So Carol and I go back to the very beginning in 1999, but she goes back before that with the histories of the current college. So we really thank you for being here today and for your gifts. In addition to making today possible, I want to recognize your lifetime support. And I look first at Carol because she's the one who's done, I suppose, the most for the longest, but Al has become a real partner in the last 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, I have to be careful to make sure I do equal time here, you know. Yeah. I also want to thank Walt Straub. Walt Straub is a former member of the Board of Trustees and has also given a generous gift to support the Cyber Institute. This money is so important to us during a 3-year phase when I would describe us as startup, and during which we can do some really big things, and we can grow and build a self-sustained business model, and that is really the whole goal here, based on both education and research. So I now invite John Fry, the 14th president of Drexel University. I almost got into trouble the first time I introduced him. 14th president of Drexel University. John, welcome.
So David is doing a really big startup with his faculty here, and I want to thank the dean and his faculty and our students and professional staff, because this College of Computing and Informatics has come to full realization far more quickly than myself or Mark Greenberg, our provost, could have ever hoped for. So David, that has a large part due to your inspired leadership and vision. We thank you for everything. And I want to congratulate you and Norm Balkunas and all of your colleagues on a really important moment, not only for the college, but for the university. So back in February, many of us gathered downstairs on the first floor in the Excite Center to celebrate the launch of our Cybersecurity Institute. And I would commend all of you to go downstairs on the way out if you haven't seen it and take a look at what is a sort of very exciting way in which the university is thinking about its own sort of interdisciplinary approach to a whole bunch of issues ranging from design to information and otherwise, and I think we'll be a good partner to David and his team. At that time when we met to announce the Cybersecurity Institute, we also are now standing in what was an unfinished space back then, and it has turned into quite a glorious space, and it's a wonderful tribute to our partners in the Science Center. Steve Leisman is here, who's done so much work to make sure that the space was finished in the proper way, and I want to thank all of them. This is just a fantastic moment for us to celebrate the Auerbach and Berger family cybersecurity laboratory, and you'll all take an opportunity later to take a peek at that. And standing in this fully realized facility makes it so much easier to really understand the critical work that the faculty in the Cybersecurity Institute have signed up to undertake. And as David mentioned, this teaching lab will be a resource to train the next cadre of cybersecurity professionals through experiential learning, which is our signature way of doing undergraduate and graduate education. And so now the researchers, the faculty, and the students who will move the Institute forward have a great space to come together and really dig into their work of keeping our information infrastructure safe and secure. And of course, that's only possible because of the very generous support of some really important and longtime friends of Drexel. Carol, Al, you have done so much for us in general, but specifically, what a wonderful, well-timed, and strategic and visionary gift. We all know how important this topic is to the security of our nation. It's the #1 threat in many people's mind right now going forward. I just came back from China last night, and you just think about our relationship with China right now and how it's so defined in part by concerns and issues around cybersecurity. And so this could not be more timely or more generous. Your gift shows once again how important it is to have really trusted partners who see the value in our faculty's important work and who are really interested in our long-term growth and development as a university. And this is a very important bet that Drexel is making academically that you're supporting. And I think it's going to have really far-reaching impact. So it starts here in this very lab where the Cybersecurity Institute is building teams of hunters, as Norm likes to call them, to identify and assess security threats and determine best practices and possible solutions. Just as important, we want to learn how to be proactive here. Instead of dealing with the aftermath of an attack, we want to help our partners in industry, academia, and government prevent those losses. And if we can't prevent them, then we want to learn from the mistakes and from the deficiencies and see what we can do to combat them, as David mentioned before. As David also mentioned, this space is a really fertile breeding ground for the research that Drexel likes to specialize in, which is cross-disciplinary projects with both real benefit to society as well as commercial potential, which also has real benefit to society. And for example, the Cybersecurity Institute is already working with another of our institutes, the A.J. Drexel Institute for Energy and Environment, to look at smart grid vulnerabilities and opportunities as our data becomes our most precious commodity. And so that is going to be a very interesting joint venture, given all the dynamics around energy right now. Beyond our campus, the Institute's faculty are hosting brown bag symposia with area business leaders and CIOs from healthcare, banking, and communications industries, which are particularly vulnerable. They cover topics such as social media, the cloud, and workplace BYOD policies. That's bring your own device, for those of you who don't know. I didn't know that until someone gave me this document. Those workshops are an exercise in information sharing, which of course is at the core of the Institute's mission. And it's an important step in creating an informed and prepared society. So we're really trying to cover the landscape here, both academically and otherwise. I'm really grateful that this vision that David has had and his faculty have had has been met with such wonderful support. David talked about Carol and her lifelong support for the university, what Isaac has done as a trustee, and the person who was inspired to name the chair that David now holds. This is a very important thing that has happened, and I just want to thank you, Carol, for so many years of loyalty, for all the things that you've done, not only to support us but to inspire us and to give us those votes of confidence at critical times during the whole evolution of David's deanship and the evolution of this college. And Al, your expertise in keeping people safe and secure is really second to none. Al and I have known each other and worked together since 1995 when I used to work at the University of Pennsylvania, and the company that he and Bill Whitmore have built was such a very, very important part of our security infrastructure at Penn, and we continue that great relationship today at Drexel, and we're so glad that you've joined Carol in investing alongside of her in this institute. And so on behalf of Drexel and its College of Computing and Informatics, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your generosity and your support, and the fact that you're just wonderful people who are great to spend time with. We so enjoy our time with you. And Walter Straub was mentioned before. I just want to say again that Walter's generous support has also been critical to our progress, and I think he's leveraged your investments very well. And so every great initiative and every great vision has a starting point, and I'm so glad that we're all here together to get this started. So Carol and Al, thank you again. Thanks to all of you for being here. David.
So John, given where you just came back from, if you would like us to do some forensics on your iPad and so on, we'll be glad to do that for you. I do want to give Carol and Al an opportunity to say a few words, and then we'll do the ribbon cutting. Okay. Carol, you can decide which one goes first. I get in trouble if I try to manage them.
He's number one.
Oh, okay.
Only for this, no. I have to say, too, I was looking around at everyone, and I had certainly said to David and to Lois, it's not necessary for us to do this. We were happy to do this without any formalities, but I have to say that in looking around, and I know that friends of ours have come and seen the faculty, most of you or all of you who I do not know, but I do want to say thank you, because again, you are making it possible. We just enabled you to be able to do some work that really is critical work. When Harvey, who you will meet, is on the screen in there, Harvey Rishikoff, and David and Lois flew down a little over a year ago to Florida to visit with us and to tell us about David's new dream. Because it's true, I sort of on an annual basis get an update in terms of what he is dreaming about, and I have to say one of my proudest achievements had been to be on the search committee that really selected David. And at that point, it was already at a time that Isaac had died, and again, this is not my field at all, but I knew that, again, having someone who was entrepreneurial was someone that Isaac would have really have wanted to be in this position. And although I am thrilled that Al is part of my life, and as he says, my only living husband, which is useful, it is. There's no question that I have a little twinge that I know that Isaac would have really loved to have met and to have worked together with David. And clearly, again, when Harvey and David and Lois came down and told us about this, I do have Isaac sitting on my shoulder sometimes when I think about, what kinds of grant making we might make. And I knew that this would have been something that would have been critically important to him and he would have supported. And that was really why we did do it. Now, in addition to that, and so I was willing to do it, but I did mention to you I have a phenomenal partner in Al who really supports me in every way, emotionally, but also financially in terms of participating in this. And he is the best sport and the best team player that I know. So I do want to say publicly, I said it privately to him, but publicly also. This is the public. So thank you. And I really am glad that you did insist that we do this, because there really is something very sweet about seeing this come to fruition and seeing actually what's going to be possible and knowing that we're part of the process. But thanking all of you who are lining the hallways here for truly making it possible. And again, in that entrepreneurial spirit, it's going to be interesting to see what does happen. But you're all doing phenomenal work, and thank you.
I'll be brief. My name is David Fensky. Thank you very much.
Never brief.
I'm going to turn this over. I'm getting good ideas. Thank you all very much for being here, especially our dear friends from the Philadelphia area and Bill Whitmore, my partner of old. This is almost the end of a virtuous cycle in my life. And I say almost the end not because I'm thinking of passing on, because that wouldn't be fair to Carol. She's already had 2 husbands. Right. But about 16 years ago, I did meet with John Fry, who was then Executive Vice President at Penn. And a few days later I met with Taki Papadakis, who was then the 13th president, right? And that was because I was doing due diligence on acquiring a company with a group here in the Philadelphia area that Bill Whitmore was a very important part of. And those 2 guys made it very easy for me to make that decision with my partners to make this acquisition. And that company, by the way, in these 15 years has grown about 50 times, almost as much as Drexel has grown, by the way. And, but most of that great growth has been due to Bill Whitmore and his wife Jeannie, who are here today as well. So when I say we're getting to the end of the virtuous cycle, what I mean is that I'm happy to make a gift and continue making gifts to Drexel, and then maybe the cycle will continue and Bill will retire and he'll be able to make gifts. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's go over this. Lois, do you want to direct this, or Bill? Okay, Bill, no. It's just kind of hard for people, isn't it? So Harvey, say hi and say a few words. Tell them a little bit about what you're up to now. Harvey.
Sure. Well, let me join the chorus of thanks to Cal and Al for their vision, because this is really their baby in a way, and David and Lois were deeply involved in making this happen. And we're sort of gotten off to a very good start. You have to thank Scott White and Norm and Rob the Video, who've all sort of been involved in putting the courses together. And at the facility, which you don't see, we also have a green screen. And the green screen has allowed us to do a series of courses that have been brought in, about 20 of the experts in Washington, D.C. We've been able to create interviews and lectures. And we've launched our MOOC, the Massive Online Course, which is more, I think, as a SPOC, a special online course. I just actually phoned the students in the course yesterday and spoke to a bunch of them. And they could not have been more enthusiastic about the facility, the green screen, and the way Drexel is going to be being brought into the 21st century on this issue of cybersecurity. All I can say is that, like many of you in the room, I sit on boards of directors, and the issue that is constantly being brought to the fore is the issue of cybersecurity. And most recently, the Department of Justice, as you know, just indicted a number of Chinese activists who work for the Chinese military establishment. And this has become center stage for, I think, high drama and high policy. So I guess all I can say is that Drexel's in the middle of the mix, and that this is going to be something that's only going to grow. And I can't thank enough for the vision of Al and Carol for helping to launch us this way. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And hope one day to have you see in D.C. so we go around the facility. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Harvey. So, John, you want to come up? So, Bill, you're going to work on it. Yep. All right.
Perfect.
And